Hi, folks. We're back. Jimmy?
We're back. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody is, once again, everything that you do see and you do hit like and subscribe, and also and any comments you may have, and plus tell your friends. That wouldn't hurt either.
I want to say one thing, too. I get a lot of emails, and I'm notified on who the subscribers are. And I want to thank you. I don't have time. There's hundreds and thousands of them. I don't have time to thank each one individually, but I thank you now. And I do answer almost every question. And there's one question I didn't answer, and I'm gonna go on a little rant here before we show the race that we talked about last podcast. I got a question. I got a question that I want to answer on the podcast, and it's for everybody, because I'm sure a lot of you are probably wondering what this guy asked me, and that's why I chose to answer this. Instead of answering him directly, I'm going to answer him right now on a podcast. And the question was, why would anybody continue to listen and watch your podcast after you admitted fixing all the races in the game that you said you loved? And that's a good question, and I'm sure probably thousands of you out there are thinking the same thing. And so just let me try to answer it this way. I make no excuses for what I did. And by the way, I wrote this down because I'm going to rant a little bit, and if I don't write it down, I'll be all over the place. So I wrote it down, and I'm going to read what I wrote. I don't make no excuses for anything that I did, and I have to make it clear that I didn't invent corruption. It was there when I got there. And I have to say that when I first started in the game, I was approached. It was at Yonkers and Roosevelt. And I was approached many times, and I turned them down. So the initial Larry Rolla turned down what I became. But I didn't invent it. It was already there. Now, to make things clear, I was held responsible, and I did pay the price. I have a problem turning the other cheek, especially when I'm right. And I was right. I did what I did because in less than 2 minutes in 1965, years after hard work and sacrifice, I was tried, convicted, and barred from Yonkers Raceway and all the New York tracks for something I did not do. The man who did this to me was the track's owner, Marty Tanenbaum. Now, I just want you to know again, I'm not making excuses for what I did, but I just want you to know the whole story. Marty Tanenbaum owned the track. It was the same Marty Tanenbaum who was a powerful figure in Democratic Party circles, who was accused of bribing 3 assemblymen to vote for legislation that would greatly improve and benefit his track. It's the same Marty Tanenbaum that was cited by State Investigation Commission for extreme waste, carelessness, and fraud in handling public funds for construction of Yonkers Raceway. It's the same Marty Tanenbaum that partnered up with gamblers and mob figures gambling at his racetrack, and these guys were given special perks and treatment. I can go on and on about this guy, but and get involved in his corruption and labor racketeering at Yonkers. But to make a long story short, what he was a wealthy, scummy man with powerful political connections, and somebody that was able to keep his state license to own and operate a racetrack in spite of it all, which to me is amazing. That's about all I'll say about me being barred. but now I want to go on a little rant because something came up, and I might as well just get it out of the way, and then we'll get right to the podcast. Like I said before, I paid the price, and as of today, I'm still paying the price. And because I have a lot of time sitting around doing nothing, I think for the first time, I have a bit of a platform, meaning this podcast event, and say what I think. So here it goes. There is no doubt in my mind that many businesses, including racehorse business, money is the bottom line. The line of morality moves based on situations and profits, and that everyone has a price, and a closet door that they don't want open. That's for sure. And there's a lot of closet doors that I could open.
Yeah, I can
so take it
verify
easy
that.
on me, guys. So let me say a few things pertaining to the horse racing, both thoroughbreds and standardbreds. I've been around both for more than 60 years, and let me tell you that if any of you politicians that were put into positions of total incompetence ever walk through the stable gate and talk to the people on the backside, you'll find that from the grooms, hot walkers, trainers, jockeys, drivers, who became famous, but most remain nameless. That's from a song that my friends wrote for Frank Sinatra, that line. They're the most dedicated, talented, and hardworking and loyal people that put on the show and responsible for your salaries. And the show that they put on is extremely, extremely dangerous. Yet they do it. Yet you make the rules that look good on paper but cripples the trainer from keeping their horses sound both physically and mentally, while not being responsible for your own inabilities and lack of respect and caring for the people who make it all possible. One being, since I started in the late 50s, more than 200 jockeys and harness drivers died in race-related accidents, and more than 70 have become paraplegic. The one that hit me the most was about a month back on Facebook. There was this kid, good kid. I knew him a little bit, but he come after me. His name was Anthony Coletta. This poor kid, 30 years old, handsome kid, got in a wreck at Harris, I think it was Harris, and paralyzed, completely paralyzed, sitting in a wheelchair. And they put his picture on Facebook on his birthday. And that got me. And that's what prompted me to write this, because I just can't get that picture out of my head. Now, here's the part that really gets me. Up until 2006, not one thing by any state, city, racetrack owner, horse racing association, nobody did anything to help these people, including this kid. It was almost like they don't care. The same thing with the horses. After they get done racing them, whether they, for whatever reason,
It's just the money.
they just send them to the killers, and it's just sad, and they just forget about them. It's just so sad. I can't even get into that. Anyway, in 2006, at least the thoroughbred industry, they put together a permanent disability jockeys fund, which was a 501c3 public charity. And what it was for financial assistance to 60 former jockeys who suffered catastrophic on-track injuries. Since its founding, the fund has dispersed nearly $11 million to permanently disabled jockeys. They were paralyzed and also had brain damage. That was the thoroughbred industry. Now, as of today, no such action was taken by the standardbred industry. And to me, that's a fucking disgrace. It's terrible. Today, you have people and some friends in high and important positions in harness racing making a good living and trying to fix and resurrect an industry that the ones before them completely destroyed. The last thing I'll say is that there's a good friend who goes to Washington and has been involved in over 400 meetings and has lobbied along with more than 4 lobbying firms, major lobbying firms, in an effort to get everything harness racing needs to survive. He does it all on his own dime. No salary, no nothing. Just goes and tries to fix the game he loves. His name is Freddie Hudson. What would be nice, in my opinion, is if somebody in harness racing would do exactly what the Thoroughbred people did in 2006 and create a fund that would help the ones that put on the show and now need help the most. Next is help out Freddie Hutton and support his podcast, the Harness Racing Alumni Show. He's the guy, in my opinion, that's doing the most to save an industry that's in free fall. And that's it. Now, I think we left off the last podcast talking about Wildwood Jeb and the race that we supplemented him for $25,000.
Well, the elimination, right?
The elimination. Well, he's in the elimination. The first race we're going to watch. We're going to watch it right now. It's the first elimination. Now, just let me say a little bit about Wildwood Jeb. Maybe I said it on the last podcast. Maybe I didn't. This was a horse that was, when I got him, he was a massive bleeder. He had a few things wrong with him. And we were able to correct all the things. Clear his lungs up, clear the ulcer that he had in his throat that was blocking.
Oh, that's right, yeah, breathing
blocking
problem.
a lot of that. Yeah, massive bleeding problem. And then there was another thing that I didn't mention that I just remembered. He had a terrible. They usually do this with the runners. They put rundown patches on behind, because when the runners go, they run in 4 inches of dirt, and sometimes the back of the ankle on the hind leg, it gets all raw. It's like scraping your elbow against the concrete, and that's what happens to the bottom of the fetlock, the bottom of the ankle. So they put a patch on it, and it stops it from ripping the skin off and getting so. Well, he had the same problem, only it was a little worse, but nobody ever noticed it because it's where you don't see it. If you're just standing next to a horse, you don't see it. You don't see it until you pick up the hind foot, and then you could see the whole back of the ankle that's facing the ground is raw and all the skin. Well, the groom that took care of this horse spotted it the first day I got the horse. And we naturally cleaned it all up and everything else. And how I solved that problem was I put a double pad on him, a double rim pad, and that lifted him about 1/4 of an inch higher, because the Standardbreds run on a billboard racetrack. It's just like blacktop with a little stone dust on top, and it could rip your skin right off. And so all I needed was about 1/8 of an inch of clearance where he wouldn't hit it, and the double rim pad, which is about 1/8 of an inch thick, that solved the problem. And that was there's no way to tell how much it affected him because they can't talk to you, but I would agree that it had affected him a lot. So between fixing that problem and the tumor and also in his throat and clearing up the lungs and taking all the equipment off him, it turned him into what he was when I asked Aaron to put up the $25,000 to race against the best 3-year-olds in the country, where he was basically a maiden. I think he had 14 starts as a 2-year-old, and was a massive bleeder. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to watch the race. We're going to watch the race right now.
The Spring Championship at Los Alamitos in California hasn't been able to get his act all together. Bill O'Donnell, leading money-winning driver in the sport, is driving. 6F Eastern Skipper, major challenger, was a $9,000 bargain yearling, the winningest driver in the sport. Hervé Filion driving, and 7G Freedom Fella, a winner of $312,000 with Shelley Goudreau. And here's Bob Meyer to call the action of the elimination.
French Chef tries for the lead. Wildwood Jeb towards the outside second. Eastern Skipper third. Ombro Wolf on the inside fourth. Slapstick fifth. French Chef off stride. Around the turn, moving towards the backstretch. Wildwood Jeb has the lead. Eastern Skipper the outside second. Ombro Wolf on the rail third. Gap of a length and a half. French Chef fourth. Freedom Fella the outside fifth. Slapstick on the rail sixth. Gap of 2 lengths. No Nero seventh. Approaching the quarter pole, Wildwood Jeb in front by a length and a half. Eastern Skipper second, Ombro Wolf third. Quarter time is 29 seconds flat. At the paddock turn the first time, Wildwood Jeb in front by a length and a half. Eastern Skipper second, Ombro Wolf on the rail third. French Chef up on the outside fourth. Slapstick Aloni inside fifth. Freedom Fella alongside sixth. No Nero trails the field seventh. As they come by the stands the first time, Wildwood Jeb in front by a length and a half. Eastern Skipper on the rail second. French Chef up on the rim third. Ombro Wolf on the inside fourth. Freedom Fella alongside fifth. Halftime, 1 minute, 3/5. Around the clubhouse turn the second time, Wildwood Jeb has the best of it by a length. French Chef up on the rim second. Eastern Skipper on the inside third. Freedom Fella the outside fourth. Ombro Wolf on the rail fifth. No Nero the outside sixth. Slapstick seventh. Down the backstretch, Wildwood Jeb leads by 3/4 of a length. French Chef draws alongside second to challenge. Eastern Skipper on the rail third. Freedom Fella alongside fourth. Ombro Wolf on the rail fifth. No Nero alongside sixth. Slapstick seventh. 3/4, 1:30 and 4. Around the far turn, Wildwood Jeb in front by a length. French Chef the outside second. Eastern Skipper on the inside third. Freedom Fella the outside fourth. Ombro Wolf on the rail fifth. No Nero sixth. Slapstick seventh. They come to the top of the stretch. Wildwood Jeb in front by a length and a quarter. Eastern Skipper goes to the outside second. Ombro Wolf third. Through the stretch, Wildwood Jeb and Eastern Skipper. Wildwood Jeb and Eastern Skipper there, heads apart. Here's the finish. 4D Wildwood Jeb along the inside, hangs on by a neck. 6F Eastern Skipper finishing second, and we'll wait on the photo for the show spot. Now back to Stan Bergstein.
48, 88, 60, and 540. 6F Eastern Skipper, $340, $3, and 1A Ombro Wolf, $7 to show. The exacta of 4 and 6. D&F pays $181.80.
Okay, that was the race. Now let me fill you in on a couple of things I don't think I ever said before. Me, Aaron, and Davey bet $1,000 to win on Wildwood Jeb on the elimination. He paid $48 to win. We also made a $100 wheel each of us in the exacta, so we win another $10,000 to $12,000 there. And he come out of the race good. And an hour later, we went for the final. And I felt pretty good because the horse that challenged him, even though he made a break in the beginning, Stanley Dance's horse, French Chef, he was, I believe he was the best two-year-old around, and they thought he was the horse to beat. But like I said, they were the best three-year-olds in the country. They were best drivers in the country, and they tested him, and it was very gratifying, and it took a lot of pressure, at least from what was happening. This horse made it easy for me to forget all the bad horses that we bought for Aaron, and it was all the focus was on this horse now, and it was a great feeling. Everybody felt good about it, and that was it. Now the only thing we had to think about was we won. I think we won about 30,000 each for that race. Now the thing was, in the beginning we were talking about parlaying and all, but that's why we couldn't parlay at all. So we just decided to bet another 1,000 a win and another 1,000 rundown, $100 run exacta, and that's what we did for the final. So now, if you tune in next week, you'll find out what happened in the final, and it'll be exciting. It'll be interesting, and it'll be like watching a Rocky movie.
Well, I like the way you handled Wildwood Jeb.
Well, it's a lot of it is being around for a long time. A lot of it is hanging around with the vets. A lot of it is going to universities whenever I was at a track, whereas a university was close by, and a lot of it is caring, and I cared, and that's it. And I'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Again, if you like what you see, hit like and subscribe, and also any comments you have, and tell your friends. Good night, everybody.
See ya.